Welcome back to the Worldwide Reds. Kickoff 3:30 a.m. at Villa Park, and it doesn't get much bigger than this. Aston Villa are flying, 9 wins on the bounce, genuine title momentum. Manchester United walk into a storm with goals, but questions elsewhere. Ruben Amorim has spoken on Mainoo, on leadership, on defending, and what it really means to play for the club. No panic, no excuses, just a massive test. So tonight we'll break it all down, the press conference, the tactics, the mentality, and whether United can survive Villa momentum. Let's get into it. How are we, boys? How's your weekend? I'm on holidays. Don't know about you, boy. Oh, Tom, you'll be on holidays now.
Yeah, on holidays now. Well, it's one of those things. It's a Monday morning kickoff, which is dreaded for us here in Australia. But obviously, being on holidays, it's a little bit more. It's not friendly time than 3:30, but it's a little bit easier to deal with. So I'm looking forward to it. In saying that, you asked me at 5:30 on Monday morning tomorrow how I'm feeling. It could be a different answer. So good so far. I thought the Premier League was very good last night, so I was enjoying my football. But now it's Manchester United's turn to dictate my mood.
Yeah. Hey, how's it all in Queensland going, Dino?
Well, obviously, it's 2:30 a.m. for me, so that's even worse, I reckon. But I'll be going straight to work after the game. So, as Tom says, your whole week depends on the fixture on Monday morning and what the result is. So, I could be going to work very happy, or it won't be a very good start to the week.
Well, before we get into it, mate, I want to wish my dad a happy 78th birthday today. And so Gazza was happy. We had a game of 10-pin bowling. He plays that a few times a week. And I've walked away with an injury on one of my fingers. Let me tell you, it's a brutal game, 10-pin. And he's wiped my ass clean. I tell you, 3 games, 3-0. He can hit a pin, Gaz. He goes all right. So happy birthday to him. He looks fresh as a daisy. Yeah, looks fresh as a daisy. You wouldn't think he's 78. He still walks in, look really professional. He's got his bag. He's got the 2 balls in there. His boots, everything like that, all kitted up, and he walks in. He makes you feel very average once you start hitting the lane, that's for sure.
You had the bumpers out, didn't you, Adam?
Mate, I'll tell you what, I needed them a few times, that's for sure. I was there trying to play catch-up, and the more I tried to play catch-up, the worse I got, I reckon. Anyway, where do we start with this? I think we might start with the press conference, because Ruben is getting ruthless on these press conferences. And I don't know about you boys, but I'm actually enjoying them. Mate, the way he's ripped into the youth system, he's ripped into the players, and he's given Bruno a rap, which is fantastic, and on his leadership roles and everything like that. But he picked out 2 players in our youth system, which, mate, no one even thinks about this. And the 2 boys, they did put a post up. He said, they feel entitlement, and then they have legends of the club saying, if you don't play, then leave. Now let's stay and fight and overcome. We have to fight against this feeling. Ruben Amorim urging Manchester United's young players to stay and fight for their place, then go out on loan. Couldn't agree with him more. I reckon they need to fucking pull their heads in and stop spitting the dummy. For mine.
It's a tough one because it plays on the heartstrings of Manchester United fans because of our attachment to the academy and watching academy products come through. It's a necessity for Manchester United fans to see that, and we're somewhat starved of that a little bit at the moment. Our one hope, Mainoo, isn't quite doing that at the moment through maybe no fault of his own, but just in regards to the situation around the manager. So we're looking for that next thing to come through. Maybe the manager will like the next young kid coming through, and you look at players who have featured in regards to Harry Massa or Cheeto Obi Martin. And my interpretation of that answer in terms of when he was asked about it, it was a general. I don't think he was asked about a specific person. I think he was asked about academies in general and youth players. But obviously we do put 2 and 2 together, and Harry Massa or Cheeto Obi Martin or Kobe Mainoo. And then obviously it's added fuel to the fire when Harry Massa posts a picture of him winning Player of the Month away at Sheffield Wednesday. But I agree. In regards to solely the words and his view of the situation of young players coming through at Manchester United, I think he's 100% accurate. However, if he's talking about one person individually and targeting them out, whether he's mentioning their name or not, that's where I think, maybe shouldn't be doing that. Now, I don't think that's the case, but if someone wants to view it that way, I'm not really going to argue. So I think it's a touchy subject for Manchester United fans, but I do think he's bang on because it is, and look, no bigger fan of Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt than myself. But here they are, big voices. They're so influential. Kobe Mainoo's on the bench for 3 weeks. Now, I know it's been longer than 3 weeks, but he's on the bench for a little bit of a spell. Leave, go to Chelsea. So I don't think that helps. I'm sure Nicky Butt had a spell on the sideline. Paul Scholes had a spell on the sideline when they were 18, 19, 20 years old. How would they have liked it if Brian Robson or Lou Macari or George Best was coming out saying, leave, go and play somewhere else? I don't think Alex Ferguson would have taken too kindly to that. So I can understand why Ruben Amorim gets his back up a little bit when he's not really getting any help by people who I think could help.
Yeah, definitely, man. Look, he gets week in, week out. It's always the same questions for him. And I'm sure when he walks into those press conferences, it's so irritating for him. I'm sure he wants to hear something new, but until they start winning consistently in United, he's going to keep hearing the same crap from the press, isn't he, Dino?
That's it, like, no team in the Premier League this year has really been consistent. Like, maybe you can give Arsenal and Villa a bit of consistency, but every team is up and down. Like, it was all right for Scholes and them to win the league every year and stuff like that, and having Arsenal as their main rival, and that's it. But like, it's a complete different era. Social media. Imagine Scholes, or not so much Scholesy, but imagine Becks and Giggs and what they did when they were younger. Imagine how they would fit in today's system. They wouldn't even be allowed to play football, probably. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing, like, it's a complete different era. And I get, Scholesy and Butt, they've started a new channel. They want to get things going and stuff like that. But it's only helping them too. Like, it's not helping anyone at the club. It's not helping Kobe Mainoo. It's not helping any young player in football. I saw an interview with Rio and Bruno, and I thought that was brilliant the way that was handled. Rio even asked him about Roy Keane criticising him and stuff like that, and he handled it great. Like, everyone's different. You're not going to get the same player. Like, imagine if Roy Keane played in today's game, how he'll be portrayed in the media. Like, it's just unbelievable that, these guys still want to voice their opinion. But at the end of the day, everyone wants their opinion because of what they did for the club. So, it's catch-22. Our success back in the day is now caught up with us, and the pressure is enormous. And you can see players don't handle it very well, and some players handle it better than others.
It's the term I was going to use there. You mentioned catch-22. Sorry, Adam, but in regards to...
I know you're right.
We demand for so long, it seems like the last 20 years, not now, sort of post-COVID, last 5 years or so, but for 20, 30 years, we've always demanded more honesty from our pundits, so whether it be on Sky Sports or Fox Sports, wherever you get your sort of Premier League coverage, we can see through and say, you're not being honest. We want the hard questions. We want the honest truth, and that's why there's been such a sort of spike and such a rise in sort of whether you call fan media or stuff like this YouTube content, because fans en masse speak a little bit more honestly and with a bit more passion. So we ask for that honest opinion. And Adam, some of the chats we'll have at the pub with Dean or wherever with our sports club or your mate sort of thing, some of the chats we have after the game with F and sell this player, that's our honest feeling during a match. Whether we agree with it or not, that's what we're feeling. So we get our honest opinion from a Paul Scholes or a Nicky Butt, and we don't quite like it, whether we agree or disagree, and we sometimes hit back a little bit, but it's a catch-22 because we want that opinion. So it's one of those ones I do see both sides.
Is that they're not doing this straight after a game when they're angry. This is a midweek conversation. They've planned what they're going to say. Yeah. That's the difference. And as I say, we do want more honesty and all that, but that's just the media and that will put these guys on United's match. You know what I mean? Like, you won't get Peter Crouch doing United games and stuff like that. Like, you can see how it's portrayed as United win, lose or draw. There's going to be media around it either way.
It's with the great power comes responsibility. Yeah. And I think that they do have such influence, and they're well within their right to say what they want to say, of course. But at our core as Manchester United fans, I think a lot of us do see them as not responsible for the situation we're in, but they do have a responsibility to try, I wouldn't say help, like how are they going to help Kobe Mainoo sort of score a goal against Aston Villa today? That's Kobe Mainoo's decision, that's Bruno Fernandez's decision. But in any little way they can help, we're on our knees. We need as much help as we can get. That's almost probably.
Do you think a bit of this is that in the reverse sense that the club hasn't got those players involved in the club?
Oh, you're 100%. They're people. You hold little grudges here. The way Nicky Butt left Manchester United. Look, I don't know the details of what happened, but on the surface of what we do know, I wouldn't have been happy about it. And I say that as someone, Nicky Butt was one of my favourite players growing up. He's human. Obviously, he loves the club, but he'll be thinking, God, this guy has this job. I was doing that. I'll do better than him. Naturally, you don't want to see people fail in life, but you'll be thinking, God, I wouldn't mind if he fails. It shows he's doing a bad job and they should have had me instead. So there's a natural tension, I think, there, of course.
I think there's a thing too, like with Nicky Butt as well. Like, not only did he leave, when did he leave? Around 2002, was it? Something like that, 2003.
After Ronaldo's first season.
Yeah, so 2003-04. And then he obviously came into the coaching ranks for United, and then all of a sudden he was gone without any explanation again. So I think he's feeling a bit hard done. But you know what? It's not so much Nicky Butt. Far out, man. Scholesie's come out with some harsh shit lately, you know, and which probably most people wouldn't expect from Scholes. And, you know, everyone rides Gary Neville a lot and things like that. And, you know, sometimes, I don't know, we call a spade as well, but I think sometimes, especially with United fans, man, we're one of the biggest bipolar fan bases going around, and we talk about Arsenal and things like that. I think we get away with it because we play down a little bit more than them. But far out, if we call for someone's head, we're going after him big time. You look at Harry Maguire; he's a perfect example. Everyone wanted him out the door a few years ago, and now everyone wants him in because we haven't got an actual centre back. So anyways,
I think more with the Scholes. You go, Tom.
No, you go.
I think with the Scholes thing, he's sort of got his finger in a bit of pie everywhere. So he's on all different channels and stuff like that, and stick to football and stuff like that. So, you know, he is paid to make his opinion, and if he can create headlines, especially about Mainoo, who most people consider a player to be like him, well, he's going to go for it, isn't he? So it's just, and with the honesty thing, I think it goes both ways with Ruben. Like, I like it that he comes out and speaks his mind and stuff like that, because everyone that they ask about Ruben and about youth players is, at Sporting, he had a youth system and he played those players. Like, Chelsea have already spent like 70 million on their young players, you know, and they're not even at Chelsea yet. So it's not the fact that he doesn't play young players. It's more the fact that is the quality there for the Premier League.
I think what's hard, and I'm sure we'll move on soon, but just in regards to this specific debate, and again, it's the one that I think just tears Manchester United fans in two different directions. We want to see these academy players come through, but we've seen great academy players come through and make an appearance, and Federico Makeda was the next big thing. Scored 2 goals, then left, sort of thing. Kobbie Mainoo, I think the story would be so different. Now, obviously, he's a great talent, and you do want to see that sort of flourish at Old Trafford. He's got one of the greatest moments in Manchester United. Like, it might not feel like it now because it's in the middle of a sort of dark period for the club, but scoring the winner in a Manchester Derby FA Cup final, that's just Mount Rushmore levels of iconic status potentially at Manchester United. And
you also played a European Cup final with him.
Yeah, and it's just one of those we're trying to cling to these glimmers of hope, and he gave us a huge one, which we just haven't had. And I think now we're seeing him, I wouldn't say disrespected, but just not being used, and we think, oh, hang on, could he be used like that? He's given us so much joy, like, give us some more of that. And then it's a tough one. I say all this, I'm backing Ruben Amorim 100%, but I want to see Kobbie Mainoo playing football for Man United.
Yeah, look, I think I've had a bit of a thought about this, and we won't keep going on about Kobe because we keep talking about him. But I think it's a lot of to do with, okay, his brother came out with a T-shirt and all that. Do you think he thinks he's missing out on money? And I know a lot of it's got to do with money and everything like that, because he's not on the big money at United, as far as we know, because he's been trying to get that contract over the line, the new contract over the line. And he feels he's missing out on money just being out on the bench or not at another club or anything like that.
I don't get that sense. And look, only him and his agent and his family would know that. And sometimes you do get that sense with certain players. That could be the case. Kobbie Mainoo could be the furthest thing from the case. I'm not sure. I don't get that sense. But there obviously is a part of that. And forget, it might not be, okay, he's thinking about cash in his back pocket right now. in regards to his development being affected, I'm not saying it's been affected. I think it's part of a development, having a couple of weeks on the bench. But let's say his development is being affected now. Well, that is going to influence your contract in 5-10 years because you're going to be a different player. So it could be. I don't get the sense though that it's contractual.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his agent didn't come out in the summer window and ask for a contract and a better one. And
when's his contract finished? I'm not really sure. I think it's not far away though. I think it might be. It wouldn't be too far away. Anyway, we'll get back to Robbie's just asked that. We'll find out. The other one I wanted to touch on too, and Ryan Giggs actually had something to say about this, but I think we'll comment about this first. Amorim admitted most issues still land on his desk, which it's understandable. He's the manager, but he was saying the leadership group not yet carrying enough responsibility. Now, I don't know whether he means on the field or he means players aren't going to this leadership group after the games or during training sessions or anything like that. I don't understand that leadership group. I've got no idea.
I've never been one for a leadership group. I've never understood. I've never in a dressing room. Obviously, there's people there, but there were never. Okay, that's the leadership group. They sit in that corner of the dressing room. If I have an issue, I need some help. I go to that corner. That's never really been a thing. Never. So, and again, it might just be that it just might be a fancy label, and they're not sitting together and having sort of private meetings and discussing sort of important things. Maybe it's just a label sort of thrown out there. But yeah, look. Where would Manchester United's biggest problems in that dressing room be? Are they the issues in regards to mentality and someone's ambition or someone's behaviour, the way someone conducts themselves as Manchester United players? Or is the biggest problem this dressing room faces what they do on the pitch and their quality and their execution as Man United players? I think it's obviously a bit of both. But it's a tricky one.
Leadership groups, I don't think I've ever been part of a team where there's been a leadership group. You used to just talk about it amongst players.
Well, there would have. That's the thing. There would have been a group, but it's not something you would have noticed or seen. It just okay. You got your experienced players. Yeah, you wouldn't label them.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been labelled. Yeah.
The Kobe's contract ends in 2027, but United have an option to extend it for 1 year, so 2028. So it's not like it's a rush, but
yeah, it's a couple of years away. So,
do you know if I was in that dressing room, the most frustrating thing for me would be the amount of injuries that we get. And a lot of them would be the so-called leadership group. I think it would be so infuriating picking up so many injuries every year and not having the same sort of team week in, week out. That would annoy me.
Yeah, well, it was bad last year, wasn't it? This season hasn't been too bad, but the season before was horrible.
But even like DeLitt and Harry, I've never.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is one from Ryan Giggs. Let me make that bigger. From Ryan Giggs says Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United's best and most consistent player as captain. He's led, creates goals, stays fit, and sets elite standards. Without Bruno, United lose leadership, creativity, and edge. Keep your best players and build around them. So he makes a really good point there. So especially after, I think he's come out just after the Rio Ferdinand interview, and he's brought this up because I think there was some comment about Bruno talking about he decided to stay at United because of his family, and the hierarchy said if you need to go, you need to go, or whatever that was. But you know what? It was nice to hear Ryan Giggs come out with that statement. And we were just talking about ex-players coming out with the wrong sort of chat, and it's good to hear Ryan come out. And because he really doesn't say much. He's not on the commentary or anything like that. So I was really happy to see that from one of our ex-players to come out and talk about Bruno like that. And I totally agree with him 100%.
We talk about sort of interviews. Sorry, Dino, but we would talk about interviews, and the latest one was Mohamed Salah, or the big one for Manchester United fans was the Ronaldo interview with Piers Morgan. They always come with these sort of negative connotations when someone does a big sort of tell-all interview. This one was a very sort of positive, in the nicest way possible, PR piece by Bruno Fernandes and Rio Ferdinand to sort of get a little bit of positivity. And look, the last post-Fergie, count the good number of good signings on one hand for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is one of those. There's not many sort of signings would say, okay, they've worked at Manchester United. He definitely has been one of them. Now, the way he plays the game incredibly frustrating for me in terms of my favourite players, in terms of what I value in a footballer. Bruno Fernandes, as brilliant as he is, very much tests my patience. So he's not my type of player. If I was playing in midfield, like obviously I'll welcome his quality that he brings in regards to the way he can impact games. But in terms of footballer, in terms of like a Paul Scholes or a Michael Carrick or a Juan Mata, very different in terms of the way sort of I view the game. But he has been brilliant. He just has. Whether we like the way he plays or doesn't, or we don't like the way he plays, he has been brilliant compared to his peers, compared to the dressing room. He has delivered, and there is body language, there is falling to the floor and holding your face, which no one likes, which we don't like. And that whenever we do see that visual, we sort of question a player's toughness or their commitment or their professionalism. You take away those sort of visuals of sort of waving your arms or shouting at the ref or anything, and you look at the work he does. He works hard. Like it's not just for the 90 minutes that he's sprinting back and forth, trying to make something happen. It's 90 minutes, 38 games a season, just in the Premier League, so 50 games a season.
It's nuts.
I just think that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen across the league. I think the closest to it is maybe they're having a debate in and around Declan Rice at the moment, in regards to he's maybe a player who does that. So Bruno Fernandes, in regards to his time at Manchester United, especially, unfortunately, compared to other players who have come in, he's delivered. Now, we want to deliver a little bit more in regards to the team and the collective. But if he's to leave Manchester United tomorrow, okay, it was a dark period for Manchester United, but he walks away with 2 trophies. He was captain for both those trophies. He's a part of Manchester United history. And I've got nothing but time for him. He tests me patience. If he starts sort of launching aimless balls and we start losing balls tomorrow against Aston Villa, I'm not going to be a huge fan of him. But overall, when I sit back, he's a positive for Manchester United, there's no doubt.
I think the problem is that he feels like he has to do everything. And we just spoke about like a leadership sort of group. Well, he's had to do that all by himself because he hasn't had anyone around him to say, do this, do that, do that. You know what I mean? Like, how many managers has he played under just at United alone? So, stats-wise, he's brilliant. Obviously, the rolling around and all that sort of stuff and is infuriating. But, at the end of the day, as Tom said, it's one of our sort of darkest times recently. And he's performed, like, where would we be without him, to be honest? Like, it's a bit scary. Like, just with goals and assists and stuff like that, like, it's pretty scary.
That's where it does get quite an interesting debate. Not a debate I agree with, but it is, as I said, alluded to, the way I view football. Where would we be without him? I completely agree. But it's where you can entertain the debate. If you had a different type of midfielder in there, would we play a little bit different, which would sort of influence things differently, and would we be a better team? Now, it's not something I agree with, but if someone wants to argue that, I have to listen because he's so unique in terms of the way he plays. Not many people have a player who takes that many risks. Now, the risks are obviously good, and that's obvious.
The other thing also is that he's unique as in he's the only sort of big player that's come to United and actually succeeded. So you try and find another midfielder who's better and comes in and does that and actually handles the pressure of United, who is it? Pogba was meant to come in and be that, and we all know what happened there. So
I think that is what you mentioned there. I think handles the pressure, and I talk about one of the huge issues we face with these players. They come in and you can be a great player at Everton, or you can be a great player at Borussia Dortmund. Even Real Madrid, for me, I know Real Madrid's up there, and I'm not going to argue they're the biggest club in the world. Maybe not the biggest club in the world. There is nothing like sort of the pressure and the weight of the Manchester United shirt. It's just a reality.
It's the media. The media will have
players,
it, United.
So many players just can't deal with it. They just can't. And I couldn't deal with it, so I'm not being critical. If I went out there, I'll cave under the pressure. But Bruno Fernandes, whether we're 7-0 down at Anfield, he will still ask for the ball. He'll still give me the ball. I'll be the centre of attention. I'll try and do something. Where if we're 1-0 up and we're somewhat cruising, that's still a bit edgy and a little bit nervy. Some players will carry away and don't give me the ball. I don't want to be responsible for maybe dropping a point here or there. So, so much good and bad or good and can improve around Bruno Fernandes. But overall, I think he does deserve maybe a little bit more respect from football in terms of what he's done at Man United.
Yeah. Well, you look at how many players under Fergie failed at United as well. It's not like it's something new. Like, he failed with a lot of signings, like, we laugh about some, that Chinese guy that came in for a bit of sponsorship and, Bebe and the likes. Like, it's not a new thing at United. It's just that it's more looked at now because we're not winning.
That's it. That's it. I've got a few comments I'm going to get to here. Where are we? There's a fair few people going in the comments here. I've got Rob here. Start off here, work our way down. I like what Amorim said. You got to work to get the opportunity. It's not doing them any harm being in the under 21s or on loan. All part of the learning experience. Look, mate, in the 21s and 18s, there's a lot of wins going on there. So they're obviously enjoying their football, so which is great. Where have we got? Elliot down here. We'll go into that one a bit later. Here. What have we got here? I think it's just the vast majority of the fan base will always feel a connection to those players because their success they brought to the club. Totally agree.
But it's all in the past, like.
Yeah, that's it. Kobe surely gets a start in the next 3 fixtures. He looked bright for the first time this season against Bournemouth. He's got another one here. I still don't believe we have a leader that demands better from the players around him. I don't see Bruno doing that. His leadership more comes from his performance than like follow my lead thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. Look, the thing with Bruno, though, if somebody makes some mistakes, and he spoke about this actually throwing his hands up and stuff like that, and I can actually relate to that, and Tom's seen me do this when we've played together. I get frustrated with players so easy when it's just a basic pass or something like that. And Bruno does make those mistakes as well. And you know what? Sometimes he'll probably just throw his hands up to blame himself. I used to do that a lot, and I used to voice that a lot. And I used to get my teammates telling me to settle down and everything like that. Don't worry about it. And I would actually like to see if Bruno's having a go at himself, I'd like to see another player actually have a go at him and tell him to relax or calm down or things like that. But he's been doing it that long.
It's one that really sticks out for me, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's in terms of how much football we consumed at the time, but it was in the middle of our Europa League run in the middle of COVID. It was in one of those, remember we had that Europa League tournament somewhere in Europe in terms of I forget what country United went to, and we played like the quarterfinal or semi-final sort of in quick concession. And Victor Lindelof had a go at Bruno Fernandes, and it's where I go back to leadership and my frustrations with Bruno Fernandes. I just thought as a player, Adam, if I was a midfielder, I was playing in a midfield pair with Bruno Fernandes, and I see him have 10 passes and misplace 9 of them, and I misplace 1 pass, and he has a go at me. I'm just there going, hang on, what are you doing? And that is where, look, if I say, who's everyone's favourite Manchester United captain? 90% of us will say Roy Keane. That's what we view as a Manchester United captain, the furthest thing from the behaviour or conduct of a Bruno Fernandes. So we have that sort of idea in our head what we should be seeing, and it's the furthest thing from with Bruno Fernandes. He just does it in a different way. But that is where I can see tension, or I just know if I was a midfielder, Bruno Fernandes would really get on my nerves if I was playing with him, if he was having a go at me for misplacing a pass. Now, that's part of it. That's part of football.
How do you think Casemiro goes with?
Well, that's the thing. I don't feel... I've had the sense in the past with certain players don't get along. And again, who knows? I'm not in that dressing room, and we have no real evidence of players' relationships. You obviously get a sense here or there through social media of which players who sort of get on well. But I've had the sense in the last 10 years, I could see little cliques in the dressing room, a real English one and a South American one, and I wouldn't say tension, but you could see, they probably don't get on as much as others. This team, I do think, seem pretty balanced in regards to if they have a go at each other, they're professional enough. I don't see, Garnacho was there. I could see Garnacho throwing his toys out of the Premier if someone had a go at him. Who would really be that player in this current team who you don't think would take well to Harry Maguire screaming at them or Matthias Delict screaming at them? I don't really think there's a player who that they might have a go at back, say F off or this, but I don't think it would be something that would linger and sort of ruin their week sort of thing. I don't really think there is that. Maybe there is someone, but maybe it's Bruno Fernandes, for God's sake. Who knows? But I do think it is something they're able to sort of brush under the carpet and sort of move on.
Well, you'd hope so, with like Casemiro and that, like how experienced he is and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to get a more experienced player probably ever in your team than someone like Casemiro. And, they speak the same language and stuff like that. So it's not like there's a barrier there. And you just hope that maybe not on the pitch because we don't see it, but in the dressing room, Casemiro is actually quite a loud voice in that room, like especially with the foreign players. Like,
I'd love to know, and we probably won't know, but would love to know when Casemiro leaves Man United, because his time when he came in, he was almost the definition of a panic day sign, or a deadline day panic signing sort of thing, and he came in and he had the big sort of reception at Old Trafford, unveiling on the pitch against Liverpool. It was fantastic. Comes in his first season, I thought he was brilliant. Okay, won us the League Cup. I thought he was brilliant. Then he had that down season, then he's left out for the FA Cup finals. So it's an up and down time. When he's playing well, we absolutely love Casemiro. How can you not? When he's playing badly, we think, why has he come to Manchester United at this stage of his career? He's only here for the money. This is the last thing Manchester United should be doing, signings like this. So it's so up and down with Casemiro. But I'd love to know that dressing room role he has in regards to, do players do feel he's just showing up and going through the motions, or has he really bought into Manchester United? Now, both could be true, or there could be a mix of both. I have no idea, but I'd love to know how players or the staff view Casemiro.
I believe he does. I believe he does have a say in the dressing room for sure. If you have a look at the way he came off the pitch on the weekend, he was blowing up Deluxe. And they've tried to settle him down and he hasn't just done that. That's not just the first time. I've seen him do that on several occasions. You see by his actions on the pitch, he's happy to go in on studs up. He's happy to go through a player. He's happy to put his hand on a player. So the passion for him at Manchester United, the game is there for him to win every single time. No matter how you win that game, that Brazilian comes out of him. He wants to win. There's no question. I cannot question Casemiro at all. And
how would you rate his? Just on that, Adam, how would you rate his? Again, I really only evaluate as a signing when they leave Manchester United. But if you're two now, if I was to give you sort of 1 to 10, 10 being great sign and 1 being absolute flop, how would you rate Casemiro's time, considering as well the business in regards to a lot of money at that age? How would you rate his signing at Manchester United?
Well, I was just about to say he's very up and down over the past few years. But I'd probably say, look, I'd give him upwards of a 7. I'd give definitely 6.57. I'd give him for his time at United. I think he served us well. I really do. And I think one thing that a lot of going back to our younger players, they should be taking as much information out of that bloke as possible. I know I would be. Holy shit, man. I'd be asking him question after question after question. Sorry,
one player right now should be by his side every second that he's there. Like,
100%.
I don't have to say who, but we all know who I'm talking about.
At 19 years old, you've got a player like that that's won 5. Has he won 5 European Cups? Holy shit, mate! I'd be sleeping with the guy, mate, just to get the information out of him. I tell you,
I wish every player that came off reacted like that. Obviously, not over the top.
100%, man.
But you want players to be disappointed. Like, it's like Cunha. Everyone's talking about how he's going to be our Cantona and all that. He's got that Brazilian arrogance about him, as where Casemiro's is. He's got the same in him, but he just does it a different way. Like, you see his tackling and stuff like that. Like, mate, he's got rage in him, and that's what we love. Like, we all love it. It's just the fact that obviously he's a bit that older now, and he does miss times, a few challenges and stuff like that. And Paul Scholes couldn't tackle.
Paul Scholes, you took the word straight out of my mouth.
Pros and cons. And with Tom's question about how you rate him, do you really judge any player last year? Because that was just a mess. So, to me, he's had 2 sort of quality seasons so far and a forgettable one last year, like everyone.
Yeah. Mate, the thing I love about Casemiro is he still wants to score goals. And he's the first one to race into that box to get his head on it every single time.
That's because he couldn't have all the time. He couldn't. He had too many Galacticos in the front of him. So
I think it's a bit of a misconception with Casemiro. And again, last bit on him, but in regards to the view of him, if we were to sort of put a starting 11 together on paper, in our mind, Casemiro is a defensive midfielder. Okay, he's the holding midfielder. Yeah. And it was Kroos and Modric ahead of him. Or in a Manchester United setting, it's Bruno Fernandes ahead of him. You actually watch Casemiro play, and maybe this is a detriment to the system if you want to sort of see this, but this is under Erik ten Hag as well. He's not a defensive midfielder. Like, his best football really comes sort of really drive forward, getting forward. I wouldn't call it an old-fashioned box-to-box, but he kind of is. I remember I alluded to that first season where I thought he was Manchester United's best player, the first season under Erik ten Hag. I think it was in and around Rodri was really kicking on. Rodri was, I don't think it was his Ballon d'Or season. It might have been, or he might have got the season after. But Rodri was fantastic. Of course, he was in and around really developing. But also, Casemiro is not, forget the best defensive midfielder in the world. He's the best midfielder in the Premier League. Just in regards to both sides of the game, he was scoring goals. He scored in the cup final for Manchester United. And I think it is a bit of a misconception. We're talking here about sort of finding a place for Mainoo or Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro is the defensive one. Now, obviously, he has defensive traits to his game over the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Mainoo. But there is a scenario where, let's say, you bring in another midfielder in January who might be more defensive sort of minded. I'm not saying the future is Casemiro going forward, but in the next 6 months, you might see Casemiro sort of, that's where his best football does come in regards to getting on the end of things and getting into the box and scoring goals rather than the defensive side of things.
I think people see him as a defensive midfielder, more the fact that he reads the game so well. Like, do you know what I mean?
He loves a tackle, of course.
Yeah, but like, as you say, if he's got the ball at his feet driving forward, like, you're excited. So, you know, as I say, like, if you're a young player in that dressing room and he's in there, you'd be annoying him every day, just, you know, find out bits and pieces. And same with Bruno, like, you know, as an actual player himself and what he has done and stuff like that, you learn off these guys. Like, you know, you're 19 sitting on the bench and you got Bruno and Casemiro in front of you. Like, you're learning, surely.
Yeah. I'm going to go into a few comments here before we actually get into the game. I'll go Robbie. And Robbie and I have a bit of a conversation about this a fair bit. Bruno is an A-class player, playing around B and C grade players. He just expects quality all the time, like he does with Portugal national team. Bring in Neves and Semenyo, like I said 2 weeks ago. Who else we got here? We've got Yanni's got here. I think Casemiro loves Bruno. He does all the running for him. And he's finished it off. And Casemiro is a proper winner, so Bruno probably loves that, definitely. And that's what we're talking about. All right, we'll get into the game. I got Dino to do a predicted lineup because we have got a fair few players out. I don't know where I read it, but I think De Ligt is available. But we'll go to Dino's team. And
this is my wish team.
My wish
team.
So we've got Lemons in goals, Euro on the right, Martinez playing central, Shaw on the left, Dalot on the right as the Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, Dorgu, Mount, Cunha, and Sesko. Give us your thoughts on that, Dino. Is that team going to get us home? I hope we do.
I think it's going to have to, because there's not many other options, is there? But, you know, obviously I don't really want to swap Dalot from the left to the right because he's actually been playing well lately. But, you know, there's really no other choice there. So with all the fit players and available players, I think that's the sort of best you can come up with at this point in time.
It is a good-looking team, though. It's a very good-looking team. Martinez in the middle. Look, if De Ligt's available, you'd be happy to throw De Ligt in? Does that mean Martinez will then come off the bench?
I would start Martinez.
Okay.
De Ligt's been injured, so, and I don't know how bad in that, but he's been missing 4 games now? Is it 3? Like,
I think it's 3, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'd stick with that team, to be honest.
It would be very interesting. Tom?
Yeah, look, if I was a betting man, I think that would be very sort of close to the money, obviously, in regards to availability. In regards to, I think he's worth the time to start, but Lisandro Martinez, if he's not ready, is that going to be someone else? Of course, there's always room for 1 or 2 changes there, but I think it's pretty close to what is going to be the situation. I do think Benjamin Sesko will start. Obviously, Cunha and Mount do pick themselves in those positions. I think the only interesting one is, well, it's too big a sort of change to change on a tactical board there. But there has been even true perception, maybe not reality, last week a change to a 4 at the back or a viewed 4 at the back. I just think, what scenario there could you keep that personnel and shift that? I remember in the Europa League finals, always talk about 3 at the back. We played a 4-3-3 in the Europa League final. Patrick Dorgu played as a left winger. And I forget who was at right back. Was it Mascherano or Dalot? I forget. But it was pretty much a 4-3-3. So you could sort of reshift that situation, push Diego Dalot back, Luke Shaw out to left back, and push Patrick Dorgu up to left wing. Then you've got a mix of whether it be Acuna or Mount on the right-hand side. But if you'd have changed personnel to make that happen, Ruben Amorim's comments in the past has very much alluded to this, not black and white, but Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo are fighting for the same position, and Casemiro and Ugarte are fighting for the same position. So if Casemiro's out, you would say Ugarte comes in. Now, I do want to see Bruno Fernandes there, but I do think there is a very strong possibility that Manuel Ugarte is the one to come in. Now, that's not what I would do. He brings good and bad to the game. He definitely frustrates me. I think if Ugarte is to come in, though, there is still a situation where you can play Mainoo, because I do think Bruno Fernandes is starting to play a little bit higher. Now, I wouldn't say higher. Okay, he's playing as a number 10, but he's definitely picking up higher positions. So I don't think it'll happen, but there is a situation where I could sort of shift that and say Manuel Ugarte plays with Mainoo in the midfield. Bruno Fernandes plays there. Now, the person you do have to drop there is one of the wing backs, which would be a Patrick Dorgu. Luke Shaw plays a little bit wider. Diego Dalot plays a little bit deeper. I hope that makes sense in regards to, I can't visualise it.
He could also play Mount as a left wing back as well. You just don't know, like, in that system that you were just talking about, like, take Dorgu out completely and put Mount there.
Yeah, no, it could. Look, I think it's one of the things which I'm sure Adam will get into. It's one of the things we're kind of glossing over in regards to the way we've viewed football over the last 30 years. Manchester United is this powerhouse. Aston Villa are a good team. This is not just Manchester United rocking up and doing what we want. Aston Villa are the better team. Aston Villa are at home. You're going to have to react to them a little bit. That's not where Manchester United's standards and all that should be, but it's the reality of it. So do we want to go out there and do what we want to do? Or do we have to think, hang on, Villa are the better team, but we have to sort of see what they do and we have to react?
We're definitely not going to have more of the ball, I'll tell you that much. So, it's going to be counter-attacking, and that's, just the way it is at the moment.
Yeah. I've got Robbie's given a bit of a view on the team. He said, decent squad, full of energy and legs in the team that won't stop running all over the pitch. Only issue would be height in the back line from Villa's setup and set plays. Plus,
what was in that team selection there, Dino? Aiden Heaven is. I haven't heard anything available, not available.
I think it's available. I think.
I'm not saying he should be playing or should be dropped, but I just think. Yeah, Aiden Heaven's kind of not a forgotten figure because he's been playing recently. But in regards to these start 11s, what we discussed last week in regards to, that height, playing Luke Shaw and Martinez as two central defenders. Okay, what's the pros and cons of that? Aiden Heaven's not a mountain of a man in regards to that dominant figure, but he's a little bit more dominant in the air than Luke Shaw and Lisandro Martinez. So do you throw, Adam or Dean, do you throw Aiden Heaven back into this in regards to it's not away at the Etihad or it's not away at Anfield, but the table says it is in regards to this is the team at the top of the table. So I would continue with Aiden Heaven, but I'm not going to argue if someone says, okay, this is the week to sort of sitting back down for a bit.
If I was to play Heaven, I would drop Shaw and put Martinez at left centre back.
The one I would add to that, the one which I would add to that, which won't happen, but just in regards to playing fantasy football in my mind, would be the same thing. But then I'd keep Luke Shaw in. I'll put Luke Shaw at left wing back and drop Patrick Dorgu. Now that's not going to happen. But
like I know Villa have Conser and Rogers. I don't think like their height's that great. Like Ollie Watkins isn't tall, Tillemans isn't tall, so I don't know if it's a huge difference. And I remember when Jamie Carragher said Martinez couldn't defend because of his height, and we all blew up about it. So he can do a job. He's won the World Cup there, so the height thing doesn't really worry me, to be honest.
Look, they've got a bit to play for, Villa here. They're chasing their 10th consecutive win, man. And it's going to be the first time since 1914. So they got records to break here, man. They could achieve a club record 7 straight Premier League wins. Currently 4 points. Well, they'll be 7 points behind City after they won, and they'll be 6 points behind Arsenal after they won. Oh, what a fraud of a game that was. We won't go into that, though. So, absolute jokers, man. I tell you. And you know what? United, we've coming off that 4-4. Look, I think we're every chance. If we can keep our heads, our biggest issue is we our biggest issue isn't scoring goals because we can score goals, no problem. It's what do you call it? It's defending them. That's the biggest thing. I think United will start sitting back a little bit, but I think on the turnover, I think we're just going to go straight on. But it is going to be Amorim's lineup's going to be at usually an hour and a half before kickoff now, and it's going to be ripped apart straight away if it's not what people like.
What Tom? I'm interested to know what would your three at the back be with a fully fit squad?
Look, on paper, if I had to make a decision right now, it would be Matthias de Ligt in the centre, Lenny Yoro on the right, and Lissandro Martinez on the left.
Yeah,
I'm not going to argue with the manager playing Luke Shaw over Lissandro Martinez. I fully understand why.
Yeah.
I love Harry Maguire. Moving forward, do I want Harry Maguire there? No, I think Matthias de Ligt's probably a little bit better in regards to especially looking to a future. And Lenny Yoro, I do think potentially be very good. And I think Lenny Yoro has been good for Manchester United.
He's 19, and he's going to have errors in him. So, the fact is that the whole sort of we concede 4, so it's a bit more obvious. But, I know it's not going to happen, but I'd love to see Luke Shaw push up higher on that left side. And,
in regards to me selecting Lissandro Martinez there, and look, I love Martinez as much as anyone. I think he has been good at Manchester United. Questions over in regards to, if I play him this week, is he going to be there next week? So I just think there is questions over Lissandro Martinez. As much as I do love him, he does need to kind of prove himself
injuries,
again.
Isn't it? Injuries, like everything. So, hey, I've also heard that Mantato should be on the bench too. So another youth player sort of getting a crack. So
I do think there are a lot of wide players.
Play, but
well, you both obviously follow the youth as well. That there are, especially in regards to Ruben Amorim. In regards to, those wide attacking players, whether it be Shea Lacey, who's not a winger, but Brian Mbeumo plays a wing role / inside. That's sort of what your Shea Lacey or players like that do. In regards to that wing back role, some days they're a wing back, some days they're a full back. There are so many spots up for grabs for those fullbacks or wide players. In regards to Amorim's ideal situation is to play a winger at wing back, like an Ahmad. In regards to the cutthroat nature, sometimes you need to play a more defensive-minded player. So that's where my sort of eyes go towards. Last couple of times I've seen him play has been, I'd say, just good, fine. But it's where us as Australians will look at it and look at James Overy and think someone at right back, he's way off the first team at the moment in regards to you get 1 or 2 injuries and you perform with a little bit of consistency in the youth team. You're worth a spot on the bench because I don't know how many players you're allowed on the bench these days, 7, 8, 9 players on the bench. There's room for there with our injuries. So is that Dean's right there saying Mantato's going to get a potential spot on the bench this week? That's only, I said, 9 times out of 10 he's not going to come on. But when the team sheet comes out and you see a new name on there, as Manchester United fans, it's exciting.
I still don't get why Tony Popovic didn't put Overy on in that friendly. Would have been the perfect.
So what happens with that? Is he now he's still eligible to potentially go play for Scotland, or so he has to be on the pitch.
He hasn't made his first cap yet, so
that's even if you're in the matchday squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what amazed me by not giving him a crap because to be fair, Shane were very ordinary in that game, so it's not like it was a cutthroat win lose draw situation. So, but as you know, we watch the youngsters all the time, and there are players there that you think can do a job, but we've also seen players like Jane Wilson and all those sort of players thinking, Charlie McNeil is a perfect example. No one's got a better youth career than him, and he's just disappeared. So, it's a big step.
Probably our greatest youth product post-Fergie, Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
He wasn't the one to come through there. He wasn't. Obviously, that
was more down to injuries, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's just a luck of the draw. But even in regards to quality, he looked like he was in and around, but he was in the 18s. He wasn't in the reserves.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think, obviously, there's another name. Obviously, all the time in the world, his situation is a little bit different. But
he was
can never tell.
More technically better than Rashford, but Rashford had that rapid speed. So, and that's why I see Mantato. He's got that rapid speed. So,
Mate, we've got. Everyone forgets about Ethan Innes as well, man. And he's playing well for his team, and he's scoring goals. He's whipping nice crosses in. He's setting up goals. I advertise him a fair bit on my page, and mate, he's a kid that we should be looking at. And he's, I forget how old he is. I think he's 19 or 20 now. He's still under contract with United. He's just out on loan. So he's one that most people don't think about. So
But I think that I do get the sense, and that's unfortunate, we're not in the Europa League and have those, well, not say Europa, but you know what I mean, those extra European games where sometimes you can rotate a little bit more. I do get the sense, though, there is eventually it's going to come, of course. So I'm sort of edging my bets here, but I do think we're going to get a debut soon, whether that be a Shea Lacey or whether that be a defender comes into the thing. So I do think that is going to, now, does that mean they're going to come in and save our season and play 15 games towards the end of the season? Probably not. But as I said, we cling for these little bits of little wins for Manchester United, and seeing debuts from the academy is one of those. But I do think we're getting closer, and probably maybe even for the wrong reasons. Just Ruben Amorim trying to buy a little bit of good PR. I just think to get one or two people on side and drop a few questions from the media, I think he'll cave and sort of give someone 10, 20 minutes and say, look, I did it. And then those questions will stop for a couple of weeks.
Well, say Dorgu has a shocking game tonight, I'd be throwing Leon at least on the bench just to put a bit of pressure on him to say,
man, isn't he?
Well, to be fair, he's very young and he's come from a complete different world, but just to add that pressure to Dorgu and say, well, look, there is a young kid here. He hasn't had a crack yet. You got to perform, and stuff like that. Because he has played a few games for the under 18s and stuff like that, but they played him at centre back last game and he wasn't the greatest. But, just put him on the bench and physically he could handle it like he's a beast. So that wouldn't worry me.
I don't know how many in our chat do watch Villa, but we've, like Dino and I were talking about them before, we've watched a few of their games. They are a very mature side, and they do move the ball really well. They don't panic in situations, and we'll say over the last couple of weeks they have been behind and have come. That's one thing United have. When they do go behind, they seem to manage to score. But Villa they defend really well. So it will be a very interesting game tomorrow morning, 3:30 our kickoff. What is it, 2:30 yours, Dean? So
they've also got a very settled lineup too, Adam.
They do.
They're very consistent, especially their front, 3 and 4. It's the same players every week.
Yeah. And it's another situation too. Rob's pointed it out here. He said a win would be nice to keep pace with Chelsea and Liverpool. The top three are starting to create a gap. Yeah, definitely. It's another one of those situations for United where we've got an opportunity. We'll end up sitting 1 point behind Liverpool if we do take the 3 points here today. But it will squeeze between 5th and 8th, I suppose. Or it's probably 4th and 8th if we do beat Villa. So it'll be a very interesting game. I think, look, Bruno again will have to step up in this game and lead the way, especially that we are missing players. And Cunha, here's a chance for you, buddy, to go and to show everyone what you actually have. I want to see him. Sesko as well. I want to see him get a goal just to keep his confidence up. So
I felt so bad for Cunha last week when he scored that goal to put us 4-3 up. That looked like a moment. That the crowd erupted. It was huge. It felt like a moment. And 10 seconds later, we concede it's 4-4, and you kind of forget about it. And sometimes, I think all the time, but players need almost that arrival, that moment. And if he had a sort of late winner in a sort of iconic game in front of the Stretford end, that buys him some time, that gives him some confidence, and it was kind of just taken away from him. So I felt a little bit for him there, but you could say that for all the players. But Benjamin Sesko and Cunha, if we get anything out of this, I think they are going to be, obviously we're going to score goals, and without Brian and Blumo, the pressure is going to fall on those two at the front.
Yeah. And look, I think we're a bit of a bogey team for Villa as well, I've got on my notes here, Villa's last beat United at home in 2022 under Unai Emery. So hopefully we continue that. And we've got 18 wins at Villa Park as well. We've got a good run there. So it'll be a nervous 90 minutes, I think, for everyone, because we want to just keep the ball rolling. What are your score predictions, boys? It's always a tough question at the end of the
2-0 United.
2-0. For clean sheet, we're going to get one.
We need one.
Look, I'd never bet against United, and I'm not betting against United, but we talked about honesty at the start.
Tom, don't sit on the fence, Tom.
I just see us Villa beating us, and I don't think it's going to be like, they smash us, or it's going to be a horrible day and sell this player, sack this guy. I just think they're a bit stronger than us. They're at home. I think we're a little bit up and down, and I just I just see that sort of standard. I hate saying this, but I just feel a kind of standard 2-0 win for Villa sort of coming up. Like sort of they're 1-0 up for the majority of it. We're sort of trying to push for that goal, and that they sort of get that goal with 10 minutes to go. And I hate that I'm thinking that. I never really think like that. I always have that. No, United got to turn around today. Okay, no, these players are dual performance. This is where we're going to do it. Maybe that gives me confidence that I don't have that feeling, so I'll be proven wrong, which I usually am in my footballing predictions. But I just think, yeah.
It's one of those games where if it was any other club, there wouldn't be any pressure on them, and you could just say, go out there and play some football. But because it's Manchester United, there's pressure on you every game. So that's the difference from another team.
Yeah, but can we say, like, United's been playing well against the top 4 teams? So, it could be a case of that as well. So I think United's going to come away with a 2-1. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet.
If United, I said this last week, but if United to get a win here, look, we've won away at Villa Park. I said 9 times out of 10 we probably go and win at Villa Park. But it would be forget the points, forget the sort of league table. It would be a surprise. It would be a very good, I'd say a pleasant surprise. If we lose to Villa, I think, I saw that coming. If we draw, I haven't seen many of those. If United win, I think, geez, okay, that was something I wasn't really expecting that. That'll give you that real boost you need going into sort of the next week. But that is where my sort of maybe lack of confidence. I'm not really, I'd be surprised if United won.
I've got Rob. He's gone 2-2. I've got Ned. He's got 3-2, confident 3-2, and Rob's got Cunha to score as he's in my fantasy Premier League team. So
we're just lucky Sancho's not available for him. So
yeah, oh yeah,
that's unlucky. I'd probably prefer him to be playing.
All right, we'll leave it there on that note. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Tom. I'm sure we'll chat at 3:30 in the morning. I know Dino doesn't like talking while the game's on, unless we're losing. But thank you, everyone. Thank you. Hit the like button while you're watching us at the moment. Hit the follow, whatever you want to do. We'll talk to you later. See you later. Check.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.